Good morning. You join me on the top of Gastulacan, above the Glenshee Valley in Scotland, in the Cairngorm Mountains, on a beautiful morning. Stunning blue sky. It's very early. It's not even 8 o'clock yet, but it's a phenomenal day. And what I want to talk to you about is how you would cope with a dislocation if you found yourself up on the mountain, isolated, with no help on its way. How are you going to cope with a dislocation, and how in an emergency type situation, and I emphasize only in an emergency situation, how you could help to reduce that dislocation. I must emphasize this is only in an emergency where you've got no medical help available to you, for example up on the side of a mountain like this. So first I'm going to describe what dislocation is. So a dislocation is where a joint has basically fallen out of position. Now a lower form of dislocation is what's called subluxation. So your joint is like, depending on which joint it is, but if you imagine a ball in a socket with the ball inside the socket, a dislocation is where the ball basically completely comes out of position. So the classic is a hip joint, is a ball and socket, and the shoulder joint. Now the hip joint's a very stable joint. It would take a lot of force to dislocate a hip, something like a road traffic accident, or you'd have to fall from some considerable height to dislocate the hip joint. It's a very stable joint. But the shoulder joint is a lot less stable. It's a lot more flexible, but the compromise for that additional flexibility is less stability. So this is something you need to be, this is a joint that can be dislocated fairly easily. Other joints are your finger joints, and I've seen those dislocated as well. And it's basically, as I've already explained, it's where the joint pops out. You can get subluxation, where the joint hasn't fully popped out, it's just come out partially, and so that's not a complete dislocation, but again, that's something you would want to try and relocate as best you can. Now, if you're on the mountains and help is not going to get to you anytime soon, then you may have to relocate the joint yourself. Now, that's going to be very difficult if you're on your own for a shoulder dislocation, but you could potentially do it for a finger dislocation. I must emphasize this is only for emergency, and also you need to be sure that you haven't fractured anything. If you've fractured something, fractured a bone, it's broken a bone, then trying to relocate it will make the situation a lot worse, because you could potentially move that fracture. So if you've dislocated a finger, and I've seen this on rugby pitches, it's quite I wouldn't say it's common, but it does happen. The joint will be out of alignment, and that's the joint, not the bone. The joint will be out of alignment, and the way you would relocate it would be simply to apply traction. That's to pull the joint apart, and by doing that it should just plop back into position. So what you're doing, if you think that's the joint and it's gone from that alignment to that, you're simply pulling it back into alignment. You're applying traction to pull it back into alignment. And you could do that yourself. For a shoulder, it's going to require some force to relocate that. And what you'd need somebody with you to help you to do that. But it's the same principle. You're going to apply traction in order to take the joint, which is popped out like so. So if it's here, what you need to do is apply traction, and by applying traction you open the joint up, and then it goes back in like so. And one way of doing that would be for a climbing partner with you, to put their heel of their foot into your armpit, grab hold of your arm, of your wrist here and pull hard. Not suddenly, it's a gentle traction, it's a gentle pull. Don't suddenly yank, it's just a gentle pressure pulling on the arm that will move the joint like so and back into position. You need to do this as soon as possible after dislocation. The longer it's out of position, the more muscle spasm you are going to get, and the harder it's going to be to relocate the joint. So it really is important to do this as soon as physically possible. But as I've already mentioned, you must only do this in emergency in order to allow you to get down off the mountain back to safety. Obviously, if you've got a phone signal, don't do this because you can phone for help. Helicopter will come and pick you up very quickly. But if you don't have a phone signal and help isn't going to be coming anytime soon, then it may be something you have to do in an emergency type scenario. So enjoy the mountains, and I'm going to continue on my way up to this peak. Thank you.